Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone to the 2022 PLCC Signing Day. First off, I would like to congratulate every student sitting here for your accomplishments at PLCC. Your class has endured a very interesting 2 years, to say the least. You've endured mandates, shutdowns, and quarantines, and yet you continue to do what you needed to do to accomplish your goals. So for that, I applaud all of you. With all of that, you have taught yourself to be resilient and to move forward when life doesn't always go as planned. Today, we celebrate you and your extraordinary experiences, along with your next move forward with a ceremonial signing of the board. When your name is read, please come forward and stand to be recognized before moving to the signing board. Students, sign your name to indicate if you are employed, enrolled, or enlisted. We'll invite Mrs. Stratus's cosmetology students to come forward. First, we have Megan Buxar. Megan plans to be employed, working in a salon. She would like to thank Mrs. Stratus for being so helpful for the past 2 years and pushing her towards her goals for the future. Next, we have Alexandra Byers. Alexandra is enrolled at Kent Stark, and she would like to thank her family. Thank you. Next, we have Mackenzie DeLong. She's enrolled. She's planning on attending Ohio University in the fall and will be majoring in business. She would like to thank her family because they always push her to do her best and never give up. Next, we have Lexi Huston. Lexi plans to be employed working at a hair salon. She would like to thank her family and friends for pushing her and supporting her along the way. Next, we have Sage Kelly. Sage plans to be employed, potentially at her sister's salon, Wild Ivy, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Stratus, who has shared so many lessons in life and is always positive, which is very encouraging to keep her head up and push through whatever life throws at her. She has helped her to not give up. Thank you. Next, we have Alexis Kepler. Alexis plans to be enrolled at Kent Stark, and she'd like to thank her parents because they have pushed her to be the person she is today. They've helped her to reach her goals and push herself to be the best. Next, we have Elena Ladaney. Elena is enrolled. She's planning on going to Stark State for massotherapy and hopefully one day owning her own massage therapy salon. She'd like to thank her mother, Lindsay, for letting her go to PLCC and giving her the support to follow her passion and being her cheerleader along the way. Next, we have Josie Moss. Josie is also receiving the Award of Distinction for her cosmetology program today. I'll present you with that. Congratulations. Josie plans to be employed. She already works and will continue working at Styles That Glitter. She'd like to thank her parents for supporting her, and of course, Mrs. Stratus for teaching her everything she knows. Next, we have Madison Redford. Madison plans to be employed. She is attending Stark State and majoring in massage therapy. She'd like to thank her family and friends and Mrs. Stratus because they've all pushed her to do her best. Next, we have Tara Thompson. Tara plans to be employed. She's hoping to have her cosmetology license soon. And she'd like to thank her brother for going to PLCC and pushing her to do the same. And then Mrs. Stratus because she's really pushed her through the program. And next we have Alexis White. Alexis plans to be employed in a salon. She'd like to thank Mrs. Stratus for teaching her all she knows to be successful in a career and has been a great influence in her life. She'd also like to thank her mom for all she's done for her and always supporting her through all her decisions. Congratulations. Next, we'll invite Ms. Berger's cosmetology program to come forward. First, we have Summer Baynak. I'd like to congratulate Summer for receiving the Award of Distinction for her hard work in her cosmetology program. Summer plans to be employed. She's not sure where yet, but she'd like to thank her family, her friends, and Ms. Berger for supporting her along the way. Next, we have Shelby Comisford. Shelby plans to be enrolled at Kent Stark University, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Batdorf and Mrs. Berger. Carmen Contreras. Carmen is employed at Scott Talbot Salon and Spa, and she'd like to thank her mom for never letting her slack off and pushing her to do her best. She'd like to thank Mrs. Berger for always being understanding and arguably the best teacher she's had in all of her school years. Eden Dager. Eden is enrolled at Malone University. She'd like to thank her parents and her sisters for being there for her, helping her grow, and loving her. She thanks them from the bottom of her heart and loves them very much. She'd also like to thank Mrs. Berger and Mr. Tondra for teaching her how to be a professional and to live life with positivity. She says she couldn't have graduated without any of you. Kyra Green. Kyra plans to be employed, though she's not yet sure where at this point. She would like to thank Mrs. Berger. She feels that she is like a second mother to her. Alyssa Holstein. Alyssa will be employed and hopes to be working at a salon after high school. She'd like to thank Mrs. Berger for making the past 2 years wonderful. Emerson Hornish. Emerson plans to be employed at a nail salon, and she would like to thank Mr. Dirksen. Emily Lee. Emily plans to be employed and working in a salon. She'd like to thank Mrs. Berger because she's taught her everything she needs to know about her profession and has given the best advice. Brenna Nagel. Brenna is enrolled at Ohio State University, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Berger for pushing her to thrive in this field. Peyton Pavlov. Peyton's plans include employment in a salon, and she'd like to thank her sister and best friend because they've pushed her to continue and finish the year off strong after a hard year. Angel Wonder. Angel plans to be employed at a salon, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Berger for being so very caring. Congratulations to both of our cosmetology programs. Next, we'll welcome Culinary Arts to come forward. Okay, we'll start with Alexis Mowry. Alexis plans to be enrolled at Kent State University. Brianna Stanley. Bree plans to be enrolled at Kent State University and would like to thank her parents, Tracy and Jim. Cecilia Tristano. Cecilia plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron. Ms. Mage and Chef Courtney are who she would like to thank for putting up with them and just being the light of her day and just being amazing people. Also, Cecilia is the recipient of our Award of Distinction. Congratulations. And Mr. Crisaro, I believe I'm missing 2 people. Okay, we'll circle back. Congratulations to Culinary Arts. All right, next I'd like to invite Cyber Academy to come forward. Okay, Cyber Academy. First, we have Aiden Backus. Aiden plans to be enrolled at Akron U. He'd like to thank Mr. Shea for being a great teacher and helping him realize his passion for networking. Christopher Badgett. Christopher plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron. He'd like to thank his mom and dad for helping him through school and getting him on the right track to succeed. He'd also like to thank Mrs. Pania for being one of the best teachers he's ever had, and Mrs. Starkey for walking him through this crazy thing called school. Shane Bush. Shane plans to be enrolled at MVNU. Caden Clark. Caden plans to be employed. He plans on getting some certifications and continuing his education as well, and he'd like to thank his parents. Alyssa Crabtree. Alyssa plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron, and she'd like to thank her parents. Clarence Dawson. CJ plans to be enrolled at Tiffin University. He's going to play football, and he would like to study cybersecurity. He'd like to thank his mom because she's always a good example and a hard worker. Dom Harris. Dom plans to be enrolled at Akron U or Kent, and he would like to thank his dad, Jason Harris, for helping him through school. Aiden Hartley. Aiden plans to be enrolled at Kent State Stark. William Jones. William is the recipient of the Award of Distinction for his program for cybersecurity. Congratulations. He plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron. He'd like to thank Mrs. Schlank and Mr. Shea for a fun last 2 years of high school. Travis McDermott. Travis plans to be employed, though he's not sure where yet. He'd like to thank his mom, his dad, his grandmas and grandpas, and Greg. Dylan Miller. Dylan plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron. He'd like to thank his parents for being supportive, Mr. Tondra for being a great early college high school director, and Mrs. Schlank and Mr. Shea for being incredible and influential teachers. Riley Schaefer. Riley plans to be enrolled at Kent State University and would like to thank his parents for supporting him through thick and thin. Daniel Smith. Danny plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron, and he'd like to thank his dad for being with him through the hardest times and helping him push towards the future. Duncan Starhawk. Duncan plans to be employed as a tech elevator? Sure. Congratulations. Stephen Walters. He plans to be enrolled at Akron U. Colby White. Colby be enrolled at Stark State. Congratulations to our Cyber Academy students. Next, we'll invite our job training students to come forward. Nicholas DeRazio. Perfect. Okay. Nick plans to be enrolled. He's going to return to our job training program at PLCC next year, and he would like to thank his mom and dad. Congratulations, Nick. Sam Owen. Sam plans to be employed. He says what he plans on doing after high school is working in a music store, and whenever he doesn't work on his free days, he'll practice his vocals, guitar, piano, and dance moves. And if he gets enough practice, he'll see if he gets some gigs and becomes famous. He says he wants to do this with his mom and his friends, who will be his backup dancers. He'd like to thank his friend Max for looking out for him and for being an awesome friend. He says he'd also like to give a shout out to Lexi Elkins, Ariana B, Nova C, Maddie M, Caitlin Bastian, Brianna Mong, Drew Thompson, Mark Danner, Justin Blankenship, Marshall Gladwell, and Braden Seam for being so supportive of his music. Awesome. Haley Robinson. Haley plans to be enrolled. She plans to return to the job training program at PLCC next year, and she'd like to thank her mom and dad. Congratulations to our job training students. Next, we'll invite our pre-nursing students to come forward. First, we have Sean Aller. Sean plans to be enrolled at Kent State University and to study nursing. He'd like to thank Mrs. McKenzie and Mrs. Morena. They honed in on his skills to give patients the best care possible. They always have pushed him to be the best that he could be. Congratulations. Caitlin Bastian. Caitlin plans to be enrolled at Bowling Green State University, and she would like to thank her aunt and uncle for everything that they've done for her. Emily Chang. Emily plans to be enrolled at Kent State University main campus, and she'd like to thank her teachers, and especially the ones at PLCC. McKenna Dalton. McKenna plans to be enrolled, though she's undecided where yet. She would like to thank Mrs. McKenzie and Mrs. Himmelwright because they've both kept her in the pre-nursing program and have continued to help her. Mackenzie DeWitt. Mackenzie plans to be enrolled at Stark State University, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Morena for helping her through her senior year. Mallory Elise Farrell. She plans to be enrolled into double major at Akron U for nursing and psychology, along with working part-time. She'd like to thank her sisters Olivia and Ashley for always being by her side, and not only her older sisters, but her friends. She'd also like to thank her mom and stepdad for supporting her in all she does, and her son Matthew for giving her the motivation to strive for not only what she loves, but for keeping her on track. Marshall Gladwell. Marshall plans to be employed. He currently is in Arby's management. He would like to thank his friends and family, as well as his teachers, coworkers, and past mentors. They have all shaped him into who he has become today. And before you go, Marshall, you have earned the Award of Distinction for your program. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Whoops. Congratulations. Lauren Haar. Lauren plans to be enrolled at Stark State to become certified in medical instrument sterilization and then to go to Stark State to study forensic psychology. She'd like to thank her friends and family for encouraging her and influencing her to become the person that she is today. Kendall Hartman. Kendall plans to be enrolled at Kent State Stark, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Morena for being a great teacher, always being there for her to talk to, and for always supporting her. Riley Helline. She plans to be enrolled at the Altman College of Nursing. Emma Isakoff. Emma plans to be enrolled at Stark State, then transferring to Kent State or Altman College to continuing her nursing career. She would like to thank her parents for always supporting her and pushing her to her full potential. Brittany Labaloy. Brittany plans to be enrolled at Stark State, and she'd like to thank her parents for supporting her through everything. Jenna Lesher. Jenna is enrolled at Kent State Stark, and she'd like to thank her family and Mr. Tondra for helping her succeed these past 2 years. Jasmine Mann. Jasmine plans to be enrolled at Kent State Stark, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Morena for helping her through her senior year and being a supportive and caring teacher throughout. Bree Mong. Bree is enrolled at Kent State University. Braden Seam. Braden is employed at a hospital or nursing home, and he would like to thank his stepmom and dad for pushing him to do whatever's necessary. Drew Thompson. Drew will be enrolled through the PLCC Adult Ed LPN program, and she'd like to thank her dad for teaching her everything she needed to know. Congratulations to our pre-nursing students. Next, we'll invite our sports medicine students to come forward. Haley Beaver. Haley is enrolled at Akron University. She'd like to thank her mom, Mr. Tondra, Mrs. Himmelwright, Mrs. Householder, Annabelle, and her ECHS peers. Caitlin Etapa. Caitlin is enrolled at Stark State College, and she'd like to thank her parents because they always support her. Allie Finch. Allie plans to be employed, and she'd like to thank Mrs. Householder for keeping classes interesting with her funny personality and her passion to teach. She's made me a lot tougher and has taught me a lot of stuff I could use for the real world. She'd like to thank her parents also for all the support and helping them with her education to learn and maybe go to college as well. She'd also like to thank Officer Britt for the laughs and welcoming waves every day as she walks through the building. Madeline Fitzgerald. Madeline is enrolled at Kent State University Stark, and she'd like to thank her mom, Jennifer, for always pushing her to achieve her goals and succeed in all of her classes. Hannah Golden. Hannah is enrolled at Stark State, and she'd like to thank her mother for being her best friend and most supportive person in her life. Jack Hostetler. Jack is enrolled at Malone University, and he'd like to thank his mother for her consistent support with assignments. Jacob Jones. Jacob is enrolled at Kent State, and he'd like to thank Mrs. House as she's helped him out with all that he wants to do over the past 2 years. Andrew Kamsing. Is that it? Okay. Andrew is the recipient of the Award of Distinction for the Sports Medicine program.
Thanks.
Congratulations. He is enrolled at Akron University, and he'd like to thank Mrs. Householder because she has been the most influential teacher for me when it comes to deciding what he wants to do in his future. Gabrielle Kennedy. Gabrielle is employed. She'd like to thank her mom, her dad, and her step-parents for paying for her education here and supporting her through the 2-year course. She'd also like to thank Mrs. House for helping her bring up her fitness and teaching her things that she'd be able to use throughout her entire life. She'd also like to thank her best friend, Allie, for being by her side and helping her with the things in and outside of school. Vanessa McAnich. Vanessa is enrolled at Stark State, and she'd like to thank Emily for pushing her to be a better person and for being spontaneous with her. She always made me turn in my homework, so I didn't fail. Cadence Shepard. Cadence is enrolled at Stark State. She'd like to thank her mother and father, grandparents, and close family, her friends, her idols, for always guiding her in her life and as well as herself for the present. Emily Scrapix. Emily has chosen enlistment and employment. She'd like to thank Vanessa McAnich for sticking with her through the past 2 years and says she couldn't have done it without her. Lauren Tatum. Lauren is enrolled at Kent State University. She'd like to thank Mrs. House because she's a funny teacher and is always willing to help with schoolwork. She has made learning fun. It is funny when we get off topic and have engaging conversations. We always have a way or find a way to have fun. Gabriella Urdialis. Is enrolled at Stark State, and she'd like to thank everyone who has been with her throughout her high school years. Congratulations to our sports medicine program. I'd like to invite our visual design and imaging program to come forward. Megan Albrecht. Megan plans to be employed, and she'd like to thank her friends and family for being there for her. Delaney Cannon. Delaney plans to be enrolled at Kent State University and would like to thank Calista Rogers. Brooklyn DeLorso. Brooke would like to be employed, and enjoys experimenting with new art styles and techniques to extend her ability to become a multimedia artist. She'd like to thank her mother for always believing in her and helping her push on and follow her dreams. Annette Ferguson. Annette is enrolled at Kent State. She'd like to thank Mr. Raymond, Mr. Tondra, and her mom for the support throughout her academic career and future endeavors. Alexis Ferriot. Alexis is enrolled, going to the University of Akron for business administration and graphic design. She'd like to thank her parents for supporting her in her academic choices throughout high school and through college in the future. She'd also like to thank Mr. Tondra for helping her get through the last 2 years in the early college high school program. She'd like to thank Mr. Raymond for supporting her studies in graphic design and the opportunities that she now has in the field. Danielle Fish. Plans to be employed, hopes to hopefully improve her art skills and be able to make a career from it. Kenneth Hefner. Kenneth plans to be enrolled at Akron University and would like to thank Mr. Raymond because he has taught us so much over the last 2 years. Carly Holmes. Carly is enrolled, plans to go to the University of Akron to pursue graphic design and minor in business. She'd like to thank Mr. Raymond for expanding her horizons and always being someone she can talk to. Also would like to thank her parents for pushing me towards success. Veda Hughes. Veda is enrolled at Spring Arbor University, double majoring in graphic design and photography. She'd like to thank Mr. Raymond for teaching her everything she knows today and helping her to get her 4 certifications and get a jump start on her college career. Samantha Cockty. Sorry. Samantha is employed, would most likely like to work at a small retail store, would like to thank her mother, her elder sister, and all the friends she's had over the years for encouraging her to go further, to expand her horizons and test her limits with the skills she has learned and the new methods she has acquired. Madison Mack. Madison is enrolled at the University of Akron, and she'd like to thank her mom because she has done so much for her and she loves her very much. Moro Martinez Lizeola. Moro is employed and will continue working at the job he has now, but in the future plans to find a job that best suits the trade he has learned at the Career Center. He'd like to thank his friends and family and teachers because they always have believed in him and made this experience at PLCC one to remember. Savannah Nichols. Savannah is enrolled at Ohio University to study actuarial science. She'd like to thank her parents for encouraging her to get through school. She'd also like to thank Mr. Raymond for pushing her to try her hardest on projects and class tasks. Carter Rich. Carter is enrolled at Akron University, and he'd like to thank his mother for pushing him to be the best that he can be. Calista Rogers. Calista is enrolled at Stark State, and she'd like to thank her mom because she always thought she could do anything she wanted. Hunter Rohrbaugh. Hunter would like to be employed, and he would like to thank his mom. Andrew Saxer. Andrew is receiving the Award of Distinction for the Visual Design and Imaging program. Congratulations. He plans to be employed, and he'd like to thank his mom and dad for raising him right. Ethan Sears. Ethan plans to be employed at Home Depot or to pursue a career in photography. He'd like to thank his classmates for making PLCC fun, Mr. Raymond for being the best teacher ever, and his parents for being there for me every step of the way. Eric Stone. Eric plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron. Kaylee Walker. Kaylee plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron and would like to thank her parents for their support and love. Alexander Yang. Alexander plans to be enrolled at the University of Akron and is thankful for his family who keeps pushing him to stay on task and guiding his way to reach his long-term goals. Congratulations to our visual design and imaging program. Due to the previous technical issues, I would like to invite Tyler Osborne, Lizzie Paul, and Bruce Stanley from Culinary to be recognized at this time. Tyler Osborne. Tyler is enrolled at Stark State, and he'd like to thank Mr. Dirksen. He was a great teacher, but an even better person. And if he ever had a problem or something was wrong, he felt like he was a great person to talk to. Lizzie Paul. Lizzie is employed at 35 Bricks, and she'd like to thank Miss Mage for always helping her. Bree Stanley. Bree is employed at McDonald's and would like to thank Amanda for helping her through the past couple years. Congratulations to these Culinary Arts students. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Tondra to recognize students who have participated in the Early College High School program.
I represent the partnership between Portage Lakes Career Center.
Yep.
Okay.
So the camera can get
you. No, my name is Kevin Tondra, as she said. I represent the partnership between Portage Lakes Career Center and the University of Akron's Early College High School program. And in a nutshell, what that is you have students that take college courses and they're applying both toward their high school units, toward their graduation, as well as an associate degree through the University of Akron through that graduation. So it's kind of a cool dual program. Along the way, their certificates, their credentials, all those work toward college credits as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name all the students that were part of the early college, high school, the seniors that are graduating. I just checked all your grades, all you did fine, all you are graduating officially with your associate degrees. I think then we're going to get a picture real quick. I'll hand you certificates, but that's kind of the plan of attack. So without further ado, Haley Beaver, Summer Bennett, Natalie Kane, Alyssa Crabtree, Eden Deeger, Annette Ferguson, Alexis Farriott, Allison Hainberg, Kendall Hartman, Riley Eline, William Jones, Emily Lee, Jenna Lesher, Dylan Miller, Savannah Nichols, Kaylee Walker, Jeremy Weekland, and Connor Walker.
Oh, were you going to give them those? Okay, congratulations on this immense accomplishment. You guys can have a seat. Next, we will recognize the recipients of our Outstanding Career and Technical Student Awards. These students have displayed strength, in both program and academic pursuits, strong character, as well as leadership and involvement in CTE student activities. When I call your name, please come forward to receive your certificate. We will also take a group photo once all names have been called. First, from Cosmetology, Eden Dager. Yay. We can clap. From Pre-Nursing, Riley Heeline. From Visual Design and Imaging, Andrew Saxer. From Sports Medicine, Vanessa McAninch. Oh, okay. All right, congratulations. Next, we will celebrate our students who have been awarded distinguished scholarships. When your name is called, please come forward. We will start with the Buddy Lloyd Culinary Arts Scholarship of $500, which is awarded to a student who plans to continue their education in the culinary arts field. To present this scholarship, I welcome Sandy Ferguson to come up and recognize the winner.
All right, it is my honor to be able to do this. So my son was a culinary, he was a chef, and we lost him about 6 years ago. And it is my honor every year to present a scholarship in his name. He loved what he did, but he had passion in no matter what he did, culinary or volunteer work. So I would like to award his scholarship to Cecilia Tristano.
Mr. Lever, if you want to give it up.
Good luck in everything. This is for you.
No. Congratulations, honey. Next, we will award the PLCC Board of Education scholarships of $500 each. First, we have Caitlin Itapa. Caitlin is a Springfield High School student who is enrolled in our sports medicine program. Congratulations, honey. The next PLCC Board of Education scholarship recipient is Kaylee Walker. Kaylee is a student who comes to us from Manchester High School and is enrolled in our Visual Design and Imaging program. Congratulations. Okay. Next, we will award the $500 Portage Lakes Education Association scholarship to 3 students. This scholarship is sponsored by the Teachers Association each year for students wishing to continue their education beyond PLCC. The first recipient is Alexis Ferriot. There you go. She is a student from Springfield High School who is enrolled in our Visual Design and Imaging program. Next, we have Haley Beaver. Haley is also a Springfield High School student, congratulations, honey, who is enrolled in our sports medicine program. Finally, we have Riley Schaefer. Riley is a Green High School student who is enrolled in a Cyber Academy program. Congratulations. You're welcome. Okay. The last scholarship to be awarded is a $1,000 scholarship provided by the Green Alumni Association. The recipient of this scholarship will be invited to the Alumni Association banquet where they will be presented with their scholarship. The winner is Riley Schaefer. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of our scholarship recipients. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us here today to help us celebrate our students and their many accomplishments. We wish you all a bright future and know that you will make us proud and leave your mark wherever you go. Your unique educational experiences have prepared you to face any challenges that life will present you along your path. We wish you good luck and congratulations.